Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are watching this around the world. Welcome to Forged from Iron, and I am Gatesy, your host. As always, please don't forget to like, comment on and share the stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done already, and please make sure you hit that bell icon for alerts on new content. Thanks, as always, for your support. So, you're probably sitting there and thinking, what have I brought you here for today? Well, what I've brought you for is we did this during the summer of last season, and it was a little tier list series where we took various fans around the West Ham YouTube community and asked them for their opinions on the current squad going into next season. We have a tier list, and I will bring it up on the screen for you now. There it is. I'll tell you what, let me just get rid of that. There we have the current West Ham United squad as according to the Fantasy Premier League website. And there, as you can see, there are 4 columns. One is long-term player, 3+ seasons. Pretty self-explanatory. The next column down is players that you think have probably only got 1 or 2 seasons left in the tank. Then right at the bottom, we've got a pretty brutal one, but fairly self-explanatory, is senior players that you think are going to be out of the door at the end of this current season. And then we have a little column in between, which is reserved for players of which you are not sure. All sounds pretty simple. Well, what could possibly go wrong? Well, there's a gentleman that's waiting in the green room. He's been waiting there very patiently. And I've been wanting to get him on for a little while to do a little something like this, because I think it'll be really interesting. He didn't actually contribute in the series last season. He is going to contribute for this one, though, and I'll bring him in now. Budgie, how are you, sir?
Good evening. Oh, good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening. Good afternoon. Hi, Rob. How are you, mate?
I don't know what time we're going to put this out, so...
No, I have no idea. But well, yeah. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank you.
No, thank you for making time in your day to do the West Ham United squad player tier list for season 2022-2023. So, Budgie, before we get into the nuts and bolts of what we've brought you here for today, would you please do me the honour of giving your channel a little bit of a shout out, and I will let you go full screen with this.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm Budgie. I'm the presenter and so on of Greenstreet Elites. It's a new channel, started up about 10 weeks ago. And we're gradually getting our way up towards 100 subscribers. So, if you haven't already subscribed or looked at any of our content, please get yourself over there, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and tickle the bell for new notifications. Thank you very much. Rob, back to you.
You're very welcome, sir. You're very welcome. Right, start your engines. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So, Budgie, here is the tier list. So, as we explained before we went and started the broadcast, and obviously I've explained it to anyone watching, here is the team. I've put all the players in, well, I believe it's alphabetical order, but if I've made a spelling mistake, it just adds to the chaos of that is Forged from Iron. So, Budgie, we're going to start with Michail Antonio there. So where would you see him as far as you're concerned? You are going to be judging this. This is not necessarily what you think David Moyes is going to judge it. It's what you judge it. So, do you think Michail Antonio is a long-term player for 3+ seasons?
No, I. To be honest with you, I'm very concerned about his health of his legs. Mm-hmm. So I would put him probably on the next one down and 2 years or so. I think, there's at least a good 2 years out of him. If we can get more, it's a bonus, in my opinion. So 2 good years.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, Budge. I mean, he's been his hamstrings have been quite robust by comparison to previous seasons. This season, he's been pretty good. But, I mean, he's 30, 31 now. And you do kind of think it's getting to the point where it's the law of diminishing returns. But I don't think 1 or 2 seasons is an unfair assessment of where Michail Antonio is at. The next one might be quite an interesting one for you to get your teeth into, Budgie, because this is a player that's obviously came in on loan at the beginning of this season, and I think a lot of people thought he was probably going to be the number one, but it hasn't quite turned out like that, although he's been excellent in sort of like that. I mean, case in point being the Seville game where he made, he only made the one save, but it was a pivotal save, as we've discussed.
It was an impossible save, Rob.
Yeah, and obviously he doesn't make it. It's 1-0 on the night to Seville, 2-0 on aggregate to them, and it's a completely different tie. But the man we're talking about there is Alphonse Areola. What are your thoughts? Or would you sign him up permanently, or where would you go?
Listen, Alphonse Areola, what is he, 23, 24?
I think he's about 28, I think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
is he?
I believe so.
Well, I mean, look, I know we've got him on loan. We've had him on loan for the season.
He's 29.
He's 29, is he?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, we all know that goalkeepers can go well into their late 30s and early 40s.
Absolutely.
So I would sign him up on a 5-year deal. So definitely up in the top column for me. We've just got to secure that signature. That's all we've got to do. And, that isn't cut and dried. Although with the games that he's had, the amount of response that he's had from the coaching staff and obviously the management, etc., and also from us guys out there in the stadium, I think he would like to stay. So I think we should get him for a 5-year deal, in my opinion.
Yeah. I do think probably the stumbling block is going to be the wages, because I think he's on a pretty fair chunk of change.
135, I've been told.
Yeah, but when I play football, I played in goal, and sadly though there was never a future for a 5'9" goalkeeper with short-sightedness. So I never made it to the heady heights of Premier League football or anything like that. But I look at Alphonse Areola and I look at goalkeepers, and I think that it's arguably the most important position of the football team, because I think if you've got a solid goalkeeper,
he's confident and he commands his box, and that's always a bonus.
Yeah. And the other thing is that not only is he a good shot stopper, but he's also good with his distribution, which for a team that plays counter-attacking football like we do is a good weapon to have.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the likes of Ben Johnson and Cresswell either side of him as well, with his distribution, he can get them moving and get stuff going. And Sufal, of course. I mean, I think he's got to be our number one next season. I really do believe that.
Fair. Which brings us to the next player on the list. Not someone that's had an awful lot of involvement, sadly, this season, but I think he's got a big future ahead of him, and that's young Harrison Ashby.
Harrison Ashby has surprised a lot of people, including me. He's got a real mature attitude. That's the word I wanted to use, attitude. He's got a very mature attitude. And, and the times that he has appeared as a sub for us, and also when he played in the game against Genk, was it? Yeah, Genk, I think.
The last game, the
last Euro game.
Dinamo Zagreb.
Oh, Zagreb, sorry, my apologies, yeah. I felt that he absolutely showered himself in glory, as did a lot of the other lads that were on the pitch that night. But for me, he's a definite keeper. 3 or more seasons, definitely. I mean, for the way the boy applies himself, it's definitely a David Moyes type player, definitely.
Fair. Okay. Moving on, is a player that 18 months or so after he's walked through the door, I think that the jury's still out as far as a lot of people are concerned, although Some people think that he's the second coming of Diego Maradona. Some people think he's a glorified championship player. I'm probably still undecided about him myself. I think that there's a player there, but Saeed Benrahma, I don't think has convinced all members of the West Ham community as far as the fans are concerned. What are your thoughts on him, Budge?
Listen, it's quite popularly known, if you like. It's quite widely known that I've been quite critical of Benrahma in the past. But I am going to also say that within that, he really has picked up his game recently. In fact, against Tottenham on Sunday, he was probably the best player in claret and blue on the day.
Yeah.
And he really did grab the game by the scruff of the neck, which is something you would normally associate with Declan Rice. But he really grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and tried to drag the team back into the game. And fair play to him for that. So, like you say, Rob, there is definitely a player in there. We see glimpses of it, but not regularly enough. I think there's two seasons, at least 2 seasons in him, before we make an absolute decision on him, because the guy, as you say, has only been with us 18 months. He needs to grow a little more with the club.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair assessment. And as I say, in a season or two, you might reevaluate, and it may well be that his career has gone one way or the other in claret and blue, and you might move him up a tier or you might move him down a tier or two. Who knows? But I think that's a fair assessment of where he's at right now. Listen, I'll say it on record. I am a Saeed Benrahma fan. I want him to succeed. I want any player in claret and blue to succeed. But
I do too.
I don't think he's, for whatever reason, whether it be him, whether it be David Moyes, and I do think that both of them have a level of responsibility, but we've not seen the same Saeed Benrahma that we saw at Brentford. But then again, in fairness, that was a Brentford team playing in the Championship, so we got to bear that in mind. Of
course, Benrahma had a little bit more free rein about where he played.
Yeah, whereas he's under David Moyes, he's probably
more regimented,
defensive rigid responsibility on him. But that's, there's a way of, I'm sure there's a way of getting the best out of him. And as I say, I agree with you. I was there on Sunday. He was far and away our best player, no doubt about it. So, anyway, so moving on from Saeed Benrahma. Now, this is a player this season who's attracted some glances from a certain team in red on Merseyside, although he's currently out injured at the minute, Jarrod Bowen.
Jarrod Bowen. What can you say about Jarrod Bowen, other than he's probably the most improved player in claret and blue in the last calendar year. He has come on in leaps and bounds. Now, he was just a Championship player when he came to West Ham. He has far and away become a very, very important Premiership player. Now, I would never condone him leaving. It's not something that I would ever want. I think he's definitely up in the top tier. I definitely would want to, tie him down with another 5-year contract, because Jarrod Bowen has got so much to offer. He's got a hell of a lot in the tank. And, again, I've said this before in other shows and stuff, he's got the captain mentality, which, I find really attractive in a player. I mean, they don't necessarily ever have to wear the armband. It's just,
but he's a leader.
You see him lead. Lead by example as well. So, definitely top tier for me.
Top tier material. There you go. Joining Alphonse Areola and Harrison Ashby. Now, this next one could be quite interesting. Vladimir Coufal's not quite had the season that he had the previous season. Some of it's been down to injury, but I have to say that some of it has also been down to the improved form of a certain Ben Johnson. So where do you see Vladimir Kufal going? This could be quite an interesting one, I think.
I listen. I think that Kufal plays for the badge. I think he's in love with the club. I've seen a few articles on YouTube where he's done, snack wars and things like that with Jack Boy or whatever his name is. Jack Mate, that's the fella.
Yeah.
I've seen him with other players. I've seen him in training sessions on YouTube and stuff. Listen, the guy's West Ham through and through, so he's got at least another 2 years in him, at least a minimum of 2 years in him. So that's where I would put him. I think perhaps, as you say, he hasn't had the greatest of seasons this season so far for a number of reasons, but he's West Ham through and through. He'll always play for that badge, always. And as a result, you've got to keep the man. You've got to.
Fair enough. So he's in the 1 or 2 seasons category. So moving on is another fullback, Aaron Cresswell.
Unfortunately, his age just kind of puts him in a certain category.
Yep.
Other than his age, I don't think that Aaron Cresswell does an awful lot to warrant being spoken about in terms of being sold on or not sure about. He's definitely got to be in one of the 2 top tiers. Now, which one you put him into obviously has to be, you have to consider his age.
Yes.
What is he, 29 now, isn't he?
I think he's 32. I think.
Is he?
I think so.
Wow. Listen, let the man play for as long as he can. Sign him up for another 2 to 3 year contract. So, he's got to go tier 2.
32. Minimum, yeah, he's going to be 33 in December.
Wow. I mean, he don't play like a 32-year-old man.
No, I'd agree with that.
I think he's got another 2 or 3 year in him at least. So, minimum of tier 2. Minimum, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we come to a player who I think when he came in, it's fair to say the first 3-4 months or whatever of his tenure as a West Ham player, a lot of people were wondering why on earth we brought this guy in from a team that had just been relegated. He'd suffered his second relegation in 3 seasons, and they'd spent the first 3-4 months not even getting off of the bench. What was the point of bringing Craig Dawson through the door? He then got his opportunity. I think it was away at Southampton, if I remember correctly. And to be fair,
had a song written about him before the end of the day.
Yep. But I got to say, for what, £2-3 million, which we eventually turned the loan into a permanent. A permanent. I think he's been absolutely fantastic value for money. Don't get me wrong. He's got his limitations, but for £2-3 million quid, I think we've already had our money's worth out of him, in all honesty. But what do you think?
Goal scored has given us his value back.
Indeed.
I mean, what's he had? 6 now?
What, this season?
Yeah, it's got to be 5 or 6, isn't it?
Not
he's
sure
he's had a few. But, I mean, he's an aerial threat in the box. We know that, his defensive rate is quality. I mean, there is sometimes a bit of a faux pas in him, but there is in every player. On Sunday, Kurt Zouma had the worst game in Claret and Blue he's ever had. So there's a bad day at the office for everyone, mate. Craig Dawson, listen, I don't care how old he is, sign him up for another 3 years, mate. I think
he's going top tier. Goodness.
Top tier for me, mate, honestly. Craig Dawson.
Interesting.
We love him.
Brilliant.
I'd even bear his children. That's how good he is.
Just looking, Budge, in all competitions, in 63 matches for West Ham United, he's got 7 goals.
Okay, so I weren't far off when I said 6.
No. And I mean, he's 31 at present. He turns 32
exactly,
in May. So
and you know, I mean, we don't need him bombing up and down the wings or whatever.
No.
We need him central. We need him static.
Yeah,
we need him shadowing players. You know, and you can do that till you're 34, 35, 36 times. You know,
fair.
So you know, I think Craig Dawson needs to definitely be tied down for the next 3 years or more.
Fair dues. We go to another centre-back. This one could be interesting. Issa Diop.
Yeah. Now, I believe that Issa Diop is an underrated player, if I'm honest with you, Rob. He shows, again, similarly to Tayyip Benrahma, he shows some qualities that you really, really want in a player in that position, where he's, you know, he can intercept a ball because he's anticipated where it's going to go. He can feed a ball out to somebody who's out on the wing quite well. You know, his distribution isn't bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. You know, I believe that, you know, Issa Diop is an underrated player, although having said that, I probably overrate him a little because I really like the guy. I just think he's a really nice guy. I think he's got the West Ham mentality, definitely. I think I'm actually not sure about Issa Diop.
Okay,
he's got to go tier 3 for me. I love the guy and I'd like him to succeed. Really, really would like him to succeed, but I'm not sure if, you know, the faithful and the club will have that much patience with him. We've already had him for 2 or 3 years anyway, so, you know.
I'm just playing a little bit of mischief here, Budge, and I hope you'll forgive me for doing so.
Yes.
If you were David Moyes and given everything that Issa Diop brings to the table, good and bad, what do you think would be the price at which you would say, oh yeah, no, we'll take the money and move him on, thanks?
26.
20. So basically a little bit of profit on him, because I think we got him for
26 million.
I think.
Yeah, I'd say 26 million. He's got Premiership experience. He's now got Europa experience. That's got to be worth 2 or 3 million, isn't it? You know, on a price tag. I'd say 26 million, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So 26 million quid and Issa Diop, you would move him on. Anything less than that, and you'd probably keep him.
Well, anything less than that, I would have to consider what the deal was on the table.
Right. Okay.
So let's just say, for argument's sake, yeah. I mean, if someone was to come in with like an 18 million deal and a player worth 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4, I may consider it. You know, especially if it's a player that I like. You know,
fair dues. So the next player I'd like to come to, Budgie, the custodian between the sticks, certainly for the Premier League, our undisputed number 1 is Lucas Fabianski.
Fabianski, quality, brilliant servant for the club. Didn't really rate him too much at Arsenal, but then, you know, he was just sort of finding his feet in top flight football, really. Swansea, he picked up his game a bit, kind of started noticing him, but then when he came to us, as you say, the custodian between the sticks, I mean, he's been fantastic, and you would never want to lose a guy like that, you know. He's been brilliant for us, you know, and as I said, like, every player has their off day, and Fabianski's no different, but, you know, his off days are rare and few and far between. You've got, what is he now, 40-something? No, 39?
37, I think.
Is he? Okay. Still got years in him, you know, in my opinion. For me, I would put Areola as our number 1. I would give him the number 13 shirt. I would still have him as as our backup goalkeeper, and perhaps even, you know, as our cup goalkeeper. Just swap the roles between him and Areola from this season, perhaps. But then, you know, if he chose not to be a player anymore, I think we should tie him down as a goalkeeping coach because I think he's experienced and he's, love of the club because, let's be honest, he's another guy that loves playing for the badge. I think, he would be an asset in the coaching staff. So, I'd love to tie him down for another 2 years. So tier 2 really for me.
He goes in there. So there he is, Lucas Fabianski. He's 36. He's going to be 37 in May. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, he could go on for another couple of years. No problem, injuries permitting.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on the list. He eats paella, he drinks Estrella, and we're going to Sevilla, hopefully. Pablo Fornals.
What can you say about the Spanish Cockney? I love him, Rob. When he first signed for us, I was excited because he was in the Spanish under-21s. I think it was either the Euros or the under-21 World Cup, one or the other. And a couple of days after he signed for us, he popped up with a goal and I think 1 assist as a substitute, as a 65th minute substitute. Really kind of invigorated him. And the more he's played for us, the more he's grown as a team player. It's clear that he's got a great relationship with the coaching staff and the management. For me, Pablo Fornals, you've got to tie him down for at least another 3 to 5 years. Top tier for me. He's a player
material.
Yeah, he's a player we can rarely do without, Rob, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, mate. This next one might be, again, quite an interesting one. I think I know where most people are going to put this guy, but there might be a few people that surprise me. I'd like to get your opinion on Ryan Fredericks.
Ryan Fredericks, I like Ryan Fredericks. I don't see where all of the criticism comes from, as far as he's concerned. I can see some of it. Of course, I'm not blind, I'm not stupid, but I actually think he's one of these players that tries for the badge. He plays for the badge. He's one of the brilliant changing room characters that drives the team forward on match day, as far as I'm aware. He's not a player that I believe we should be turfing out or being unsure of. He's definitely tier 2 material for me.
Tier 2. He's in 1 or 2 more seasons. Okay, so another right back we come to, and I would say that for me, he's been the number 1 right back this season, and that's Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, if only you could tie him down to a 10-year contract, Rob, what a player he is and what a player he will be. He's definitely top tier for me, definitely. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that he's a player that can really help to drive this club forward. Definitely.
He's in there, top tier material, 3+ seasons. So there's Ben Johnson. This, I got a funny feeling. Again, this is quite an unfortunate one because I think he's a guy that I think is a half decent player, nothing spectacular, but he's been looked okay in certain spells, but he's been very underutilized for me. But so it might be a difficult one to judge. But how do you see the future looking for a certain Alex Crowell if you was in charge?
I probably wouldn't extend his loan or take up an option on him.
Mm-hmm.
As you say, he hasn't been used very much. And as a result, we haven't really had a good look at him. But I think he was not like a panic signing, but I think he was a belts and braces signing, if you like. He was making sure that we had something in central midfield should Thomas Souček or Declan Rice be unavailable, and if it looked like Noble was out of sorts, do you know what I mean? So I think he was more like a belt and braces. Let's just make sure we've got something there for the centre. He looked fairly good when he was at Prague. Was it Prague?
Spartak Moscow. We got him from
Moscow. Yeah, sorry. And he looked fairly useful. He's a player I'm unsure about, Rob. Tier 3 for me, mate. I probably wouldn't extend his contract or sign him to a permanent, but David Moyes might.
Yeah, I think the chances are, I mean, the rumours that I'm hearing is that he's been told that he can move on, but moving back to his parent club might be tricky because his parent club is in Russia. So we all know the situation with Russian clubs. So as far as
he won't get a visa to go there, will he?
No, I think that might be he's in a little bit of the limbo, but there you go. Okay, so we move on to now this player you've got to be rather careful of, because there's someone out there that you might upset if you put him in a category that a certain someone finds unpalatable. Manuel Lanzini.
Well, Rob, it's little known fact that he is one of my favourite players at the club. La Jolla, I love him. I think he's one of them kinds of players that can just turn a game on its arse. It's like against Tottenham when he hit that screamer into the top corner, against Man City when he, turned it, taking the ball up in the air, keeping uppy basically. The guy can turn a game on its head, and he's shown that he's a West Ham player. He loves to play for us. He loves the guys around him. They all click so well. I mean, he wants to go back to River Plate. That's no secret. He doesn't really want to do that yet. So let's have him for another 3 seasons or more, shall we?
Oh, you're going all the way. You're going 3+.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, definitely.
Wow. Well, that certain someone of whom I speak will be very happy with your assessment. Next on the list is the son of a West Ham legend. And I do think that name gets bandied. The word legend does get attributed to people, in my opinion, who don't actually deserve it in a lot of cases. But Alvin Martin is a bona fide West Ham legend.
Of course he is.
But we're talking about his son, who's not so much a legend, I would say, although he does have that legendary moment on debut, keeping a clean sheet at Stamford Bridge for a team that
puts him in the hero status.
I would say he's a cult hero because of that one match. But David Martin,
well, listen, one of the most patient guys in our squad, I think. I mean, he knows he's like fourth choice, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? And he's a patient guy. He's obviously, a West Ham fan. He obviously loves to pull on the shirt whenever he can. Listen, I don't think he's the sort of player that we want to get rid of, really, to be fair. There ain't many one-man clubs around. One club men around. My apologies. And I think David Martin could possibly be one of them. He probably won't ever be our number 1 goalkeeper, but he's a fair shout for our number 3 or 4. So I think we should keep him for at least another couple of years, in my opinion.
So you're going to put him in the 1 or 2 seasons category?
Yeah, tier 2 for me, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, next one could be interesting. Arthur Masuaku. Give me your thoughts on him, Budge. Keep it clean.
I shall. One of the most,
it might be.
Yeah, one of the most frustrating players in our squad for the fact of his inconsistency.
Yeah.
His defensive capabilities are tardy, let's just say. But going forward, he offers a little. He doesn't offer as much as certain other players do. But I'm sorry, he's definitely goodbye.
He's in the bin.
I'm afraid so.
He's gone. He's out.
As much as I love him as a character and as a person, as a player, it's goodbye, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't offer enough. I think that's fair.
No.
I would say that he was, well, some people would say maybe it was Cresswell, but I do think it was Arthur Masuaku that was the reason why the first goal against Tottenham happened. But not the first time he's been culpable for a goal being conceded that didn't need to be. But there you go.
No.
Anyway, we move on now. I'll tell you what. No, I'm going to save him for last. I did this last season. I'm going to do it again this. I'm going to save Mark Noble for the very end, if I may. So I'm going to now skip to the very end and go, and we're going to go for Kurt Zouma.
Okay. Listen, for me, Rob, in the last 2 years, Kurt Zouma has been the most important purchase we've made. He is experienced beyond anybody else in the club in competition, in cup competitions, in European competition, etc. He's been with the World Cup winning squad. The guy's got experience beyond anybody in our squad. Anybody. He's another captain mentality. He's exceptionally good at breaking up play in the defence. One of the most important players, as I said, we've bought in the last couple of years. I mean, top tier just doesn't do it for him. I think it's almost like godlike status for him, because he's absolutely impeccable. Sunday against Tottenham, he had that game. Can allow him that game. Yeah. I don't believe that'll happen again. Yeah. But for me, he's definitely top tier.
Yeah, fair enough. He's in there. That's not too catastrophic, it has to be said. So we move on, and Andrei Yamalenko, who in recent matches has come up trumps for us. I think it's fair to say that for the bulk of his time in Claret and Blue, it's been more downs than there's been ups. But with his current situation going on with his country.
When we first signed him, Rob, I mean, he looked exciting. He looked like he was a very capable player. Something created a block in that for him for a couple of years or more.
I think the injury didn't help.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously a major part of it. But I think it was more than the injury. I think it was probably the mental injury as well. I think, that may have had a part in it. But, as you say, in the last couple of games, he's had a bit of a resurgence. He's, scored a very, very classy. In fact, for me, it's a contender for goal of the season for West Ham at the moment. Classy goal against Villa with his left foot. I mean, he trapped it with his right and hit it with his left, but as soon as his right foot touched the ground, I mean, that is some technique. I mean, if I was to try and do that, I'd be on my back. I know I would.
I'd probably do my back.
So, we know that there's absolute quality in there. He has been lazy of late. Recently, as I said, a resurgence. I'm not sure about Yamalenko, if I'm honest. Tier 3 for me, Rob. I don't really think we should get rid of him yet, but I don't know if we should hold on to him long term.
Fair. Okay. Now, this next one, again, this could be interesting. I think this is a guy that polarizes an awful lot of opinions like other players do, with likes of Diop, Ben Rama. There's not a universal sort of like either he's great or he's not so great. It's sort of somewhere in the middle. Nikola Vlasic.
For me, for me, Vlasic is another great signing for me. I think that the work rate in the guy, his desire to achieve, and his relationship with the guys around him is all top draw. I think, I cannot fault his input in the game. It's not always possible for him to create a difference because the amount of time he's been getting. When he's had longer time on the pitch, I felt he's had better games. So for me, Nikola Vlasic, I think we should at least try and get another year or two out of him. And I think we may have ourselves another Arnautovic in him.
Oh, interesting. So
that's
one or two more seasons.
Yeah. That's the kind of player I can see in Vlasic. Is it like, slow starter, but explosive when he gets going.
Fair. Okay, so he's gone in the 1 or 2 more seasons category. Again, it could be that if you do this again in the season's time, he could have moved up or down. But right now, that's where you're going to put him. So, okay, we move on. Thomas Souček. Now, I think it's fair to say that this season, again, same as with his compatriot Vladimir Kufal, this season's not quite been the resounding success that last season was. Again, you could attribute that to a number of factors, tiredness, the evolution of the role that Declan Rice and Thomas Souček have with one another has fundamentally changed, in my view, since last season. But where do you see him in this pecking order?
Top draw, mate, for me.
Boom.
Thomas Souček is another player we need to tie down for at least 3 to 5 seasons. We got him at, what was it? A reasonable amount, wasn't it? It was like 23 or 28 million or something like that.
Yeah, got him on a loan, didn't we, to begin with, and then it...
Yeah, and then we made it a permanent on 23 or 28 million or something.
Yeah.
Listen, an absolutely quality signing. Another guy that loves to play for the badge. He really truly knows what it's like to be a West Ham player, and he's having a little more of a lift in his performances just of late as well. He's had a goal, that header was absolute quality. What a beautiful goal. So, as I said, top draw for me, top level.
He's in top bins. So we go to the guy that has been the captain for the bulk of this season, Declan Rice.
Well, rumours aside, Rob, and bids that have come in for him allegedly, and inquiries that have been made about him. All of that aside, I think that all the time that we're competing at the level that we're competing at, and providing Declan Rice with a platform in which to show his capabilities, both as a captain, as a player, and as a team member, I don't think Declan Rice's desire is to go anywhere at this moment in time. So another 1 or 2 seasons out of Declan. Now, I would love to put him on the top tier, but I think that's probably unrealistic. So another 1 or 2 seasons out of Declan would be an absolute steal for us, I think.
Fair. So you're basing that not necessarily on the fact of ability. Well, no, it probably is on the ability. It's probably on the fact that you think that maybe his ability and what West Ham can offer in the longer term are sort of 2 different. They're not aligned, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, look, you would not blame him if like Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool came calling and he went to them. Yeah, you couldn't blame him. He's definitely on that level. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, any of them
Bayern Munich,
clubs, any of them, any of them came in for him, you would not blame the man for wanting to go.
No.
He wants to achieve, and far be it from any of us to say you can't do that. You need to do what's right for you, Declan. But give us a couple more seasons, buddy. We'd really appreciate it.
Fair enough. Okay.
I know he watches your stuff, Rob. So you know.
I hope so. We're looking to get him on. So, but we'll get our people talking to his people. You never know.
Yeah.
At the minute, we can barely afford a bag of Uncle Ben's rice, let alone Declan rice. But there you go. Although they don't call it Uncle Ben's now, do they? It's just Ben's. They shortened it, so it's less time to say it. So there you go. Yeah. Anyway, we move on.
I think the uncle retired and the nephew took over.
There you go. Darren Randolph's next on the hit list for you, Budge. What are you thinking about him?
Look, Darren Randolph's been a great servant to the club, hasn't he? You know, and then again, another really patient player who doesn't get his opportunities that often, but when he does his best. There's been one or two occasions when he's been, woeful. But, he does try his best. I think, based on the keepers that we have and, the keepers of where I've put the keepers that we have before him, I think it's goodbye for Darren Randolph, if I'm honest with you. I'm not saying that's what I want, but we have got, we have got the other three guys. And as I said, David Martin, as you quite rightly pointed out, is the son of a legend, bona fide legend. He's not going to go anywhere, is he? Even if he don't get a game, he'll always have his shirt ready to go. So, I think it will be goodbye to Darren Randolph, sadly.
Yeah. We're down to the final straight here, Budge. We've got two players left. This one's a guy that at the minute he's on the treatment table. And, well, as I understand it, his contract's actually up in the summer. But the word was that when he did the injury, that he was going to get his contract extended no matter what. And
yes,
that's Angelo Ogbonna. But if you were in the hot seat, where would you put him?
Well, Angelo Ogbonna is the pivotal defender for West Ham. I mean, when he's in defence, you kind of got this confidence running through the defence. And similarly, it was like that when we had God, what was his name now? The other guy that began with an O, he was more of a midfielder though. Obiang, Pedro Obiang. Similarly with him, he kind of allowed a little confidence to run through the defensive part of the team. Mm-hmm. And Ogbonna kind of took that mantle on. And he's really kind of, for me, he is the captain of our defence. And, we've got to get at least another couple of years out of him. The talk was that they were going to extend his contract for another year with a year option so that it could run to another 2 if he wanted it to, if he was fit to play. So, I'd love that to be invoked. I'd love us to get another 2 years out.
So you're going to put him in 1 or 2 seasons?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. We come to the last one. Now, before you give the answer on where you would put Mark Noble, what I have to stress is that this is Mark Noble as far as his future as a player is concerned. So, because I'm mindfully aware that he's taking his coaching badges and there's talk about him eventually becoming a director of football and whatnot. But this is purely Mark Noble, the footballer.
With his boots on, yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark Noble, as a player, where do you see that he is? Despite
I mean, it's been widely reported that this is going to be his last season in a pair of boots. So unfortunately, and it pains me to do so, I have to put him in the goodbye in the C category because we know that this is his last playing season.
Let's just reboot. I tell you what. Just to be mischievous.
If we were going back another season, if we knew we had another season out of Mark Noble, I would definitely put him in tier 2. Definitely. Let's get another year or 2 out of it.
If I sort of press pause a moment and say to you, Mark Noble right now, has sort of his contract is coming to an end. He said he'd like to stay, but it's being spoken about and this, that, and the other. Would you keep him for another season at least?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. He doesn't offer speed or agility anymore, but what he does offer is that creative brain, the
experience,
the experience, and also he offers you that outlet where you know he's going to break up the play, and he might put a cheeky little back pass out or something, and you just know that's Noble. He's got it in him, and then on the edge of the box, you might find the ball coming to him, and he blasts that ball into the goal. He's still got plenty of that in him, Rob. So yeah, I would love to sign him up for another year, definitely.
So this is just for the benefit of people watching that are sort of like saying, they're screaming at their mobile device or their PC monitor, and they're saying, but he's retiring, he's leaving, he's gone as a player. This is if Mark Noble was sort of wavering, and yes, my contract's coming to an end, but I think I can
this
still
is purely
play.
speculative.
Budgie, the manager, would put his arm around Mark Noble and say, come on, you can give us another 12 months. Give us
another 12 months.
20 minutes here, putting the odd penalty away.
That's it, mate.
Budgie would put him 1 or 2 seasons. And you know what? Mark Noble, he deserves that, doesn't he? Another season if he feels it.
Of course he does. And and like you said, we bant about the word legend quite easily with players at times. But listen, if there ever was and ever will be a legend at West Ham, there is no better legend than the man that served us for his entire career. I mean, that guy has got heroic legendary status. I mean, you can't fault the man. You cannot fault him. He's beautiful.
Cool.
He's beautiful, Rob.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to go full screen with this, if I may. So just to sort of like to go through it. So in your opinion, Budge, long-term players are 3+ seasons: Alphonse Areola, Harrison Ashby, Jared Bowen, Craig Dawson, Pablo Fornells, Ben Johnson, Manuel Lanzini, Kurt Zuma, and Thomas Soucek. 1 or 2 more seasons for a multitude of reasons. Each of these players are in this category. Michael Antonio, Saeed Benrahma, Vladimir Kufal, Aaron Cresswell, Lucas Fabianski, Ryan Fredericks, David Martin, Nikola Vlasic, Declan Rice. That might get some people's eyebrows raised, but the reason he's there, as Budgie said earlier, is because he believes that Declan Rice is at a level where there's going to be the big boys sniffing around him from not just the Premier League, but across Europe. So Budgie's not put him there on the basis of his ability. Before anyone sort of looks at that and goes, what's he doing? That's the reason why.
I don't believe that we'll be able to hold on to him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment and realistic in fairness. Angelo Ogbonna and Mark Noble. Again, I have to say that this is Mark Noble possibly thinking, do I want to play? And this is Budgie, the manager, putting his arm around him and saying, come on, son, you can do another season for us. The players that he's not sure about, Issa Diop, Alex Crowell, and Andre Yamalenko. And the ones that he's waving off out of the gates of Rush Green for the final time are Arthur Masuaku and Darren Randolph. There you go, Budge.
Yeah.
You enjoy
That's
it?
a fair assessment of how I see our squad right now. Yes, I did enjoy it.
Good.
Yes, and it gives you a new perspective on the club as well, on the players and stuff.
Well, Budgie, before we call it quits, we'll finish as we start. I'd like to give you the opportunity just to give your channel a little bit of a plug, if you would be so kind.
Thank you. Yeah, so as you can see on screen, I'm Budgie from Greenstreet Elites, and I just do West Ham content. We do dabble in other little bits and bobs, but it's 99% West Ham content. I do try and concentrate more on, past experiences of the club, if you prefer. And I chat to West Ham fans. We do a show called the in crowd. Gatesy's been a guest on there, and so has Duke. I haven't released Duke's one yet because it's 3 hours long and we can't find the song to fit it in. But you know, lots of people have appeared on it. Lots more people are going to appear on it. Hopefully, I would invite you to come on and show us why you're a West Ham fan and why you watch us. Please like any streams, subscribe, and tickle the bell for notifications on Greenstreet Elites and also on Forge from Iron, West Ham United.
Mate, you are very kind to say so. And yeah, that's what I was going to also say. Please don't forget to like, comment on and share the stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. And as always, we thank you very much indeed for your support. Budgie.
Yes, mate.
What are we?
We are absolutely massive.
There you go. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.